Do humiliating events from your past keep you locked in a cycle of shame and secrecy?
Well, that's what we're talking about today here on My Sober Truth. Well, it's May 10th and it's time for a double shot of My Sober Truth. Sean, I love today's reading. It was great. I love the title, Free at Last, because that's what we want to be. And at the core of today's reading, it's all about humility. And the question you asked in the beginning is, are the humiliating events from your past keeping you locked in a cycle? And I think when we talk about those two words, and especially early on in recovery, there might be some confusion as what's the difference between humility and humiliation? And I'd love to hear it from your point of view.
Well, humility, I've had to grow into learning what that really was. Humiliation, on the other hand, I knew completely what humiliation was. I felt it all the time. I even probably at times that I didn't really need to feel humiliated. I would feel humiliated. I would take things that other people said and did to me and feel humiliated about it when they really didn't mean anything by it. But my self-esteem was so low that any little thing would set off my humiliation. And it's probably one of the reasons that I built my ego up so big and I was so quick to jump on others. And it doesn't make any sense really, but I was really quick to jump on others and humiliate them. And that makes no sense considering how bad I hated being humiliated.
Gotcha.
And then I grew myself to a point of, I say grew, I enlarged kind of my personality so big that I decided that I hated being humiliated, so I decided that I wasn't going to be humiliated by anything, even though I really was. I couldn't trick myself into that. But that ego on the outside made all my friends, all my acquaintances, the people who knew me, they thought, well, Sean will do anything. He doesn't care. He doesn't get humiliated. And I would. But then by the time I got home and I was sitting there by myself, it was a lot of humiliation involved in it.
Right.
So that being said, humility is kind of the opposite of that. It's knowing myself, basically. It's knowing my own limitations. It's knowing who I am and what I'm capable of. It really is, humility is about getting to know me getting to know me, so that I know what I'm capable of, I know what I'm not capable of. I know, and it's also me getting to know my willingness, what I'm willing to do, to go through and do certain things, to accomplish things, and what I'm not willing to do. And then kind of once you have that self-knowledge, that really opens you up to being able to figure out what kind of life what kind of life you want, what kind of life I wanted. I could figure out this is what I'm willing to do. So then where does that enable me to be able to do? I could go through, I can have this life, I can have this kind of life. What do I want to work towards?
It's almost like the shame and secrecy that we end up carrying around in our addicted days are the original gateway drug.
Yeah,
if you think about that one.
Yes.
It's the thing, we have shame. We don't want people to know about the shameful event or the shameful thing of their life, so we start getting into secrecy. And when that's not enough, like in your case, you start building up this ego-driven persona.
Absolutely.
But none of that saves us from those feelings of humiliation.
Right.
And then the only thing that we have beyond that is to drown that shame, drown those secrecies, drown our fears of getting found out in whatever our drug of choice is in that situation. And the opposite is true with humility. When we're open, when we're honest, when we're transparent, when we have the opportunity to be real with ourselves, be real with God, and finally be real with that someone else, we get to discover who we are. We get to discover the kind of life we're meant to lead. And then we have the opportunity to do something about it.
Absolutely. It's getting to know yourself and really being honest with me about who I am, what I want, where I want my life to go, what kind of life I want to lead. And then you ask those other questions. Am I willing to do this? You can question your own willingness, because when I was out in living in addiction, I had these dreams, these things that I wanted to accomplish. But for one thing, the drugs and alcohol would definitely put a hamper on that. Because one, if you're hungover every day, you're not going to work very hard towards anything.
Right.
So the other part of that is you're not really honest with yourself about what it takes to do those dreams, and then whether or not you're willing to do what it takes to put that into motion. So all of it kind of works back in together, you know. And as far as that shame and secrecy, and we're still talking about the fifth step, it's still May. So unloading all of that stuff, being able to get a look at it, being able to do something about it, working towards what we're working towards in working the steps, which are the next steps to come, which is where you do them in order and you get to the points where you actually do get to go start making some amends to people. You start to get to really clean up that mess that you've made of your life. And because of that, it starts becoming clearer and clearer and clearer who you really are.
And I couldn't agree more. And one of the things we know about any 12-step program, it's you're laying a foundation for yourself to do the next step.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a temptation to, I want to go ahead and make this right. I mean, because once we realize we've done wrong, if you have any sense of common decency, you want to fix it. But the importance here is to get yourself right, because part of that process, part of being able to have a honest representation of yourself in your own mind is not only do you get to see your strengths, but you get to see your weaknesses.
Absolutely.
And that's not a shameful thing. That's just knowing who you are at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And, you know, you talk about the kind of what you were saying, you're laying this foundation. It goes back, you hear people all the time say, it's the journey.
Right.
It's not the end game, it's the journey. The journey is what makes you who you are. Working these 12 steps is the journey. It will make you, if you do them to the best of your ability, I have zero doubt that you will become a better person and be working towards being what you want to be.
Sean and I talk about it all the time, that we feel like deeply in our hearts that the secrets of success in every area of life is wrapped up in each of these 12 steps.
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter if you've been an addict. I say it all the time. I don't care if you're an addict. I don't care if you're an alcoholic. I don't care what it is. If you take these 12 steps and start living a life based around the principles they teach, you're going to have a better life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know, as we wrap this up, I want to kick a question back to our viewers. What's the biggest thing you discovered about yourself when you faced a past humiliating event head on? Now, that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. Really curious to what happened with you. Take a moment, put your answers down here in the comments section below, and who knows, your answer may be a little key that releases a little peace, purpose, and prosperity in someone's life today. And on that note, for My Sober Truth, I'm Mark.
Hey, and I'm Sean, and here's hoping that today you stay drunk with success.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Love y'all.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you're thirsty for another round, then belly on up to mysobertruth.com and click on the double shot button today. There you'll find the encouragement, inspiration, and support that'll help you stay clean, on track, and prospering in every area of your life. Take a moment to subscribe to this channel, and if you got a minute, stick around. Let's watch another video together.